Good evening. I'm Chris Reardon, Dean of the Daniels College of Business. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our final session for the Voices of Experience Speaker Series for this academic year. We have had such an amazing year. We've had the CEO of Molson Coors, the CEO of Kaiser Permanente, the President of Denver Health, a general from the U.S. Army, the CEO of Starbucks, the CEO of Grant Thornton, and tonight we have the CEO of Enterprise Holdings, Andy Taylor. Next year promises to be equally exciting. Already on the docket, we have the CEO of Visa, the CEO of REI, the CEO of Crocs, and the CEO of U.S. Bank. We hope you'll join us back here next year as well. You know, our college, the Daniels College of Business, is named for an amazing pioneer, Bill Daniels. Many of you know that Bill was known as the father of the cable industry. He was indeed a visionary, somebody who persevered, built an amazing business, and somebody who gave back to the community. This series could not be possible without the amazing support of our financial sponsors. Tonight we'd like to present them with just an honor for helping to give back to our community. We're giving them a plaque with a quote from Bill Daniels that I think depicts their generosity. I'd like to read this to you now. As Bill noted, when you put your life in perspective, you realize how little time there is to make something truly significant out of it. To some people, this might mean acquiring a lot of possessions. To others, building a business or owning property. And there are those whose lives won't be fulfilled unless they achieve fame and fortune. There is nothing wrong with any of these aspirations, but for me, they pale in comparison to individuals who want to leave something more consequential to their legacy. For example, being the kind of person who takes the time to pass on knowledge and values to the next generation. Having family, friends, and business associates remember you as an honest person and helping others who will be left behind. I believe if you live your life this way, you'll leave the world with a clear conscience and a smile on your face. Please join me in thanking our generous sponsors for making this Voices of Experience Speaker Series an amazing success for this year. I'd like to invite on stage Jim Burton from Grant Thornton, Jim Reuter from First Bank, Doug Wilhelm from CoBank, Cindy Fukami from Rocky Mountain Human Resource People and Strategy, and Mary Beth Vitale from National Association of Corporate Directors. Let's thank them. Thank you very much. I'd also like to recognize our in-kind sponsors, Chase, Ethisphere, Denver Metro Chamber, Net Impact, and the Marketing Roundtable at Daniels. I'd like to remind you that, of course, tonight's session is available for continuing education credits, CLEs, CPEs, CEUs, and there's a table in the lobby for those forms. You know, again, when I think of Bill Daniels, I think of a pioneer. And tonight, the Taylor family is represented also by a legacy of being a pioneer. If you can imagine, back in 1957, Jack Taylor, Andy's father, started a small leasing company with 7 cars and 1 employee. Andy was sharing with me that it was in the basement of a Cadillac dealership. And in fact, Jack Taylor, his father, would often let the telephone ring to give the impression that his company was very busy and couldn't answer the telephone. Fast forward to 2011. Could you imagine Jack Taylor thinking of his company doing a flash mob? Could you imagine that they would be a $12.6 billion company with over 68,000 employees worldwide, 7,600 locations worldwide, and over 1 million cars and trucks in their possession? That is being a pioneer. The Taylor family is known for their vision, they're known for their innovation, They're known for being pioneers in terms of giving back to their communities. And they have the largest rental car company in the world. I'm even more proud to say that Andy Taylor was a graduate of the University of Denver in the Daniels College of Business. He joined Enterprise at 16, came back to school for just a short time, and now has moved on to become the chairman and CEO of this company. Please join me in offering a very warm welcome for a Daniels pioneer, Andy Taylor.
Chris, thank you very much, and to the sponsors, thank you for participating in this event. And I am very pleased to be back on campus, particularly since I don't have to go to class. In fact, the Taylors are not known for being great academicians. I think we've done okay, though, in business. But I had a great 4 years here, and it's really amazing what has happened here at this school over the decades that have passed. Really, really terrific. I'm going to take a little time. I think we have a very interesting business story to talk about, and that's what people, they want to hear about it quite often in various places, our customers, for instance. So I want to just go through the business here. First, the introduction of who we are. Chris gave you a little idea about that. We'll talk about the journey, which was kind of a defining moment in our business, and why we think we have gotten to be the size we have, which is bigger than the Hertz and the Avises combined. We have a way of measuring ourselves. It's very simple. When you've got 70,000 people spread out all over the place, you need to be able to have a scorecard or a dashboard, if you will, on how we are doing. Talk a little about that, some reasons for success, which is fun coming up with because I've never done that before. And also, I think we are known for our recruiting and developing great people. If you have people that have rented from us before, they always say, "Oh, I love your people." And we've done a lot of really great things with the Alamo National brands over the last 3 years. A couple of key statistics here. We're one of the top private companies in America. My family owns about 97% of the business, with a couple of our operators that own a little bit. It's the largest fleet of passenger vehicles in the world. It's about, counting our fleet management business, which is the leasing business that my father originally founded, which is about 200,000 vehicles. Our rental fleet is about 900,000 vehicles, and those are not licensees. Those are vehicles that are on our balance sheet. We will buy this year in the United States, approximately, if we can get them, over 800,000 vehicles, which might be about 7% of all the vehicles that are sold in the United States. Never thought this little family business would get on steroids like it has. It's been quite fun. We have the 3 brands, about 1 million transactions a week. That's about 130,000 rentals that we do every day, including Sunday. That's about, meeting the equivalent of 2 NFL stadiums full of people. Our revenues at the end of our fiscal year, July 31st this year, is going to be about $14 billion. Our rental fleet's up about 10%. Maybe we can talk later at questions. Our business is doing very well. Vehicle availability is a challenge for us. And we're the largest recruiter of recent college graduates in the United States, have been for some time. And we hire all sorts of people, but particularly college graduates, because most of our jobs are entry-level jobs. This is an eye chart, but let me just tell you, on the left corner, 1980, our revenues were about $78 million, and that is our revenue. It's been quite an amazing ride up to 2010, which is 12.5. We'll come in about 14. So you can see the Great Recession, as I will call it. And even my father, who's alive and well at 89, says he's never seen anything like that in the past. So it's been quite a fun ride, and a real privilege to be a part of this really interesting story. Why do we buy Alamo National? If you look back in 2006, Enterprise had a market share of about 7.6%. We had more and more of our customers in the home city offices, where that's what we were known for. We started moving on to airports. We were growing about a tenth of a market share, or 10%. I'm sorry, about 1/10 of a market share per month. And that's great, because you can see we wanted to get to be the size of the red guys and the yellow guys, but at that rate, I was going to be really old when we reached them. So when the Alamo National business came available, frankly, it had been offered to us 3 times or something. before that from in the mid-90s. But this was a real opportunity to take this company out of, came through bankruptcy, then also was owned by private equity, had not had a lot of loving and caring and attention. It was a great opportunity for us because we could get the airport real estate, which is very hard to get at times, some systems which are good for bypass the counter kind of rentals, and a variety of other things, and we did not think it was a financial risk at the time. But most of our branches are away from the airport, and they're really a confederation of small businesses, 5 to 7 employees, 100 to 150 vehicles per branch, very decentralized. Each one has their own profit and loss statement, and the manager and assistant manager are paid off the results of their branch. Their customers are their customers. And they are really responsible for being, if you will, the Jack Taylor of that branch in that neighborhood or in that urban setting. And of course, our airports are larger, more, with I think today we were going to have over 1,000 transactions at DIA just today. So they're a little more of a factory. These smaller branches, sometimes some people call them really great hot dog stands. My father, that Chris talked about, he was one of the greatest generation guys. He was for those nuts about World War II, he was an F-6F Hellcat pilot and flew some of the most serious missions in World War II in the Pacific, 2 distinguished flying crosses, 5 air medals. Spent most of his time flying off the USS Essex, not the USS Enterprise. Enterprise, though, was a better name for a rent-a-car company, so that's why, we use Enterprise. He went on Enterprise from Essex for a couple of weeks as a replacement pilot after the Mariana Turkey shoot. After the war, my father did a few things and went to work for his best friend, and whose dad had the Cadillac empire in St. Louis. Not only just 3 or 4 Cadillac dealerships there, but also was the last distributorship of General Motors, where every car that went to like 4 states went through this distributorship. And the Lindbergh family owned it, and that guy right there, that was my dad's best friend, Earl Lindbergh. And Jack did very well. He matriculated, became a sales manager, as you can see. I suspect this picture is in the early 50s. And, but about that time, after the war, there were more customers than there were cars. And a lot of the sales practices that were frowned upon in the auto dealer world, which frankly today is so much better, and most auto dealers provide great service, he saw that. And my father had this soft spot, maybe from the Navy, of, I want my customers to like me, and I want my employees, I want to have a good time working with them. And in fact, a lot of our kind of culture is based on his experience in the Navy. Teamwork, honor, mission, fun, those kinds of things. And he said, if I enter the leasing business, I can give a car, a year or 2, it's about the term then, and I can provide the maintenance, I can provide, the registration and all that. And it's a great way to make my customers really happy. And that is a motto, and that's a picture we have throughout the company. My father, as I say, is 89. He will probably call me first thing tomorrow morning and say, how did it go? And I will send this presentation to him. But he really was our cultural founder. And listening to customers, he listened sharply to his employees and sharply to his customers. And frankly, that's what took us from that carriage trade, lease one car at a time, to the rental business, because he knew what was going on with the neighborhood. He knew what was going on with his leasing customers who needed an extra car when their kid came home from college during Christmas, or the sales manager of that company ordered a car and they needed a temporary transportation. And of course, our customers, as we got larger, said, we really like your service, we'd love to have you at airports, we'd love to have our employees as they travel go to airports. We also now have been opening commercial trucks, I think 5 or 6 years, medium-duty truck rental, and then WeCar, which I'll talk a little bit about later, which is our version of Zipcar. I want to talk to you a little bit about the journey. In the late 80s, 1989 to be exact, we were really rocking and rolling. Sometimes our revenue in certain years was like 30% increase. And people at the company were thrilled. They said, look, we're growing like a weed. We're making plenty of money. But my family, starting with my father, said, you know what, I'm having too many friends anecdotally tell me that our service isn't so great. They go from St. Louis to Atlanta or someplace, And we were just concerned that maybe we had gotten off the track. So what do you do with that? You start measuring. And we took a page out of Peter Drucker's book, You Manage What You Measure. So we immediately embarked on a program to do that. Asked too many questions, as most business people may be here in the audience. When you start touching the customer, everybody wants to weigh in the business, or while you're talking to them. And long story short, we eventually evolved it to a statistically valid sample of every one of our 7,600-ish branches every month by phone, and we asked 3 questions. We said the first question is on a scale of 1 to 5, completely dissatisfied to completely satisfied. How would you rate your rental that just finished maybe that day or 2 days later? Next time you want to rent a car, would you choose Enterprise, or would you choose Alamo, or choose National? And the third thing is there anything you'd like to say to the company? And if it mentions a particular employee, for instance, or a particular problem that we need to recover from, that is on the printer queue of the branch in the next morning. We also found an interesting thing as we went through our customer surveys, and that is the top box. If people gave us a score of completely satisfied, they are many times more likely, at least 3 times more likely, to return to us than if they were just satisfied. And that really told us something, that we had to go for the top box if we were going to go somewhere on this customer satisfaction issue. And so we came up eventually with the ESQI, Enterprise Service Quality Index, where we formalized it. Everyone had it, everybody down to branches, areas, regions, and so on. And the interesting thing was, when we started measuring, we had about probably in the low 60% of people that were completely satisfied, and we had a wide variance of the best to the worst. And we frankly couldn't get it moving. And we just said, look, what are we doing? And there were excuses. You know, in New York, it's very hard to make New Yorkers happy, I'd hear, or California, or whatever. And, you know, it's really easy to make people in Denver happy, I can tell by the audience here. And we just said, nope, we got the same yardstick. And we had to figure out something to engage our employees in this common mission of completely satisfying customers. So we tied it to promotability. And when you come to work at our company, at least with the Enterprise brand, you are very interested in getting promoted. You have a college degree, you're going to work in a small business, you're going to do all sorts of sort of menial things you might think at first, but you're also going to see a financial statement, you're also going to work with the public, you're also going to be managing over $1 million worth of vehicles. But if you're not at corporate average or above your branch, then you are not in the promotion pool. And that was a big deal. And in fact, some of our people that produced the best profits, and maybe the most profitable branches, were in what's called ESQI jail. And they couldn't get out. And they would say, look, I got to get promoted or I'm going to leave. And we said, all right, you got to leave. And that was a very difficult time. Now, we're in probably a 1994 time frame here, so we have been at this for 5 years or so. We tied recognition to it. Recognition at our place, you saw the video, thank you for watching the video earlier, but we have a lot of fun. We compete like crazy. Obviously, we compete on ESQI because corporate average, you got to be at or above, so it's a constant process of completely satisfying customers, and the bar keeps going up. In fact, when we tied it to promotability, that low 60% completely satisfied today is at 81% across all of our brands. You know, satisfied, it's in the very high 90s. So, and then inculcating that as part of our culture, it just took some years, but all of a sudden, I'd be at a big rental meeting, and as opposed to people saying, well, you know how much per car I made? Now they say, hey, my ESQI is 88, and I knew we had won. And one of the reasons why we started breaking our business down into little pieces, like every interaction with the customer. We call those moments of truth. And we have what's called the cycle of service. And we literally have a teaching unit for every one of our employees, certainly the entry-level ones. So handling the telephone might take a couple of hours in instruction and practice. But we do all that. Our other businesses, you know, truck, for instance, might be a little different, but this is an example of the rental cycle of service where we have to do well with every touch point with the customer. Now, do you think customers, if things don't go exactly right, we're 10 minutes late getting to the body shop to pick you up, or maybe the car isn't ready or not the exact car is there that you expected, and that happens sometimes. But if the customer knows that our employee is really trying, is really being helpful and making their best effort, quite often, if not most times, will get a top box check mark because they know that we are really trying to please them and make them totally satisfied. So we become pretty noted for our customer satisfaction. J.D. Power, and I'm very proud of this, Enterprise has been the top rated car rental company for I think 9 out of the last 10 years. And Alamo particularly and National were somewhat tainted brands a bit when we took them over, and they just hadn't had any investment at all for some years. So the last year, our J.D. Power was, Enterprise again was first, number 2 was National. Number 3 was a company that starts with an H, and number 4 was Alamo. And I am really thrilled, and frankly, I think we might have a shot at having the top 3 boxes, or top 3 spots, if you will. Now, as we went through this whole process of ESQI, a couple of things came to mind, and how we really measure our business and what's important, and how we want to make sure that we have things in the right priority. So we developed what's called the balance. And I think if you walk in any one of our branches and talk to the manager and say, what's your balance? By the way, what's your ESQI or ASQI and NSQI? They'll know. And the first thing, of course, is completely satisfying your customers. If you're not at corporate average or above, you're not in the promotion pool. And they work very hard. That's number 1. Number 2 is employee development. We consider ourselves a growth company. Our fleet's up 10%. We did have the 1 year, as you saw in 09, that fiscal 09, that was problematic. But we want to bring the best and the brightest into the business so we can keep growing, and those people that train them will be moving on to bigger and better things. Growth means opportunity, and again, we're back on the growth path with our various businesses, and very pleased with how things have recovered. We can talk a little bit about that more in the Q&A part. We're a very interesting indicator of business travel, leisure travel, activity in the home city. And again, number 4 is the bottom line. We're a privately held business, so we don't have to worry about quarterly earnings. We can think longer term. I love competing with public companies, and I love competing with companies, I'm sorry, I'll probably insult somebody in the audience tonight, competing with companies that are private equity owned at this point. And I think that's been a tremendous advantage for us, particularly in terms of thinking long term. And we do all those 4 things in the context of what we call our founding values. And those are things that are like government relations, diversity, employee relations, all those things that really amount to reputation, if you will. We've been known as a great place to begin a career. Black Collegian for many years, Business Week, and we're very flattered at that. We work very closely with particularly placement executives or officers at colleges and universities, and we have certain schools are really great feeder schools to us. And we have a little different story. And we still are trying to recreate an employment experience just like my father when he started the business. Very entrepreneurial, very much self-starting people, people with great interpersonal skills that want to move up, and that's really a very gratifying that we have been able to do that as a big company, which we are now. Just quickly going down, I just threw some points here. Recruiting is, of course, very important. We got a couple of hundred recruiters that's what they do. They used to work in branches, so they kind of can intuitively know, as well as just scientifically understand that whether this person is going to be a great teammate in a branch that really wants to get ahead, that really wants to work with our customers. And the first thing we do when they come to work is we don't tell them how to rent a car or teach them how to rent a car. We teach them about what we stand for. We teach them about what our customers expect, how to dress, how to shake hands, all that. Second is we have them in a path as they move through their early part of their career, generally in the first year to 18 months, teaching them the skills. You need to give these people recognition. You need to remind them how much they're learning, because they don't think they're learning very much. And you give them the measuring, it's competitive, and you give them the expectations of what they can expect from the company and vice versa. When you get in to be a branch manager and move on, we have a matrix that can vary by region of the country, but that is how we measure our managers in terms of growth, customer satisfaction, employee development, generally the balance. And then other development is, of course, carried out locally. Our general manager, I'll introduce you in a little bit, has that responsibility for bringing his team along. And we also do some national training. Many of our branch managers, they come through, I think in the first 2 years, they make it to St. Louis at least once. And then we have a senior leader development program. I several executives and myself went around to visit the best training operations we think in the world in terms of training senior leadership. Crotonville at General Electric, for instance, Goldman Sachs, other large operations that have done a really great job training their senior leaders. And we have a program called our Senior Leadership Development Program. People who work at least 10 years that they will move. They have a great track record. And in fact, the next 3 days I'll be locked up with our 6th class, I believe. We also, as the largest owner of vehicles on the planet, and the largest purchaser of vehicles, we are really in the crosshairs of what is going to happen with vehicles in the future. And so we have a very comprehensive environmental platform. We are going to participate to the level we possibly can in introducing some of these new technology vehicles to the public. We are hopefully going to have 500 Leafs, the all electric Nissan vehicles, certainly by the end of the calendar year. We have worked on renewable fuels. Our family has donated some serious money so we can come up with ways of developing ethanol, for instance, that can be used as opposed to gasoline and also not be involved in taking corn or other food products. We do biodiesel at all of our airport shuttles, which are in excess of 600. So I won't spend too much more time on this, but we have also, I might add, just increased the number of vehicles, cars in our fleet versus trucks, and our average gas mileage of our fleet has gone way up. WeCar is like the Zipcar, which is a hourly car sharing B2B. Ours is a B2B solution. Zipcar is a B2C, business to consumer. Basically, people go and sign up. They get a fob or some kind of equipment. Vehicles are staged. They can rent the cars by the hour. Generally, they're hybrids or some kind of similar vehicles. And these are used in urban areas. And frankly, there are not many of them out there. The news about this and the public relations aspect of Zipcar has been tremendous, but they still only have 7,500 to 8,000 vehicles. But we're going to have our version of that, which is basically going to maybe a university like Denver. We run the campus at Google, who likes their people coming in on mass transit, and then providing them the hourly rentals if they have to go to the dentist while they're at work. But this is going to be very interesting to watch. Zipcar went public just a couple of weeks ago for a pretty phenomenal price. In 9 years, they haven't made $1. So it will be very interesting to see if that's got the hockey stick approach or if it's going to have a flat line. And I want to also invite you to go to our drivingfutures.com, which gives you a broader set of the things that we are doing, such as environment. Water out here in Colorado is very important. We want to make sure we are using as little water as we can to wash those vehicles in the whole universe, 100,000 car washes a day, and all the electricity that goes with that, and we are after that. Some reasons for success. We had a founder with vision beyond just money, and that's really true. My father wanted to make his customers happy. He wanted to work with fun employees that he could socialize with, if you will, and that was a great basis for us. We had cooperative family owners over 55 years. My father, I have one sibling, my sister, who is a director of the company. She runs also the community and the philanthropy part of the business. We have, between the two of us, we have 5 women that are my father's grandchildren. 5 women. Someone told me the other day, and 2 of them work for the business, and they're here right now, as a matter of fact. Someone told me, an expert on family business, that we have the potential of being the largest female-owned business on the planet, which would be very interesting and really terrific, frankly. Underdeveloped market space. Home city car rental was really invented by us, if I can be a little bit unhumble. But we were also unfettered in that regard. We had vendor financing, which my father, when he started the business with $25,000 of borrowed money, organizations such as General Motors and Chrysler and Ford were much bigger players on the industrial stage. And to encourage companies like my father's little entrepreneurial startup, they financed the cars. In fact, it was interesting. General Motors Acceptance Corporation would even allow 10% of the vehicles that Jack had financed to be non-GM vehicles. I'm glad that happened. Distracted competitors, they were busy fighting at the airport among themselves. Avis finally said, we'll be the best number 2, and they just were not paying attention. One of the CEOs of, who's a real icon in the industry, who's retired, said, we let these guys at Enterprise sneak up on us. We've always had a small group of senior leaders who were and are focused on and unrelenting on growing a great business. Jack didn't start the business just for money. We don't run the business just for money. We run the business to have a great, interesting, turns out bigger than we thought, and with the family, it's a great, big, private, multi-generational family business, and our intention is to keep it that way. And we've had really a core group of people that I've been fortunate to work with, which have really had that same vision. Knowing ourselves and saying no often. Many, many entrepreneurial startup companies will get going, they'll start making some money. The entrepreneur says, I am really smart, I've got a really great business here, and pretty soon he or she thinks that they can go into all other kinds of businesses. People come to them with new offers and things, and they get totally distracted, and the business does not succeed. I would say that the best deals I ever made were the ones that I didn't make. We've been very realistic and proactive about having the right people on the bus. If you read the book Good to Great, I think that's a terrific book, and that does summarize kind of the way we look at making sure we have the very best people on the bus. And sometimes my father says, golly, so-and-so is really a nice person. Why are you encouraging them to retire a few years early? And I say, Jack, we're going to take very good care of them, but it's time that their people have someone that's a better leader. Luck? No doubt about it. Can't believe I'm standing here. This could not happen in most of the rest of the world. It could only happen in the United States. And it's my personal opinion that if our country ever loses the ability for someone like Jack Taylor to start with some money and an idea and can't succeed either through overregulation or the financial markets aren't right or just, frankly, a lot like some of the European countries, then we're all in trouble here in this room. And the last, and certainly a very important reason, is a degree from Denver University. Okay, hope that wasn't too painful. Let me make a few introductions. I don't know if the house lights would come up, but I'm traveling today with some family and some of my senior team. One is Carolyn Kindle, who works with my sister, and she directs some of our community activities. Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah? Chrissy Taylor Broughton, and who is in our operations, and we had a successful $500 million bond deal that we did today, and Chrissy had a big hand in that. And she also has made me a grandfather, which is absolutely terrific, who's 1 year old, and as soon as she can talk, then I am going to have her take the company oath, so she'll be carrying on for the 4th generation. And I have some St. Louis team members also, Christy Conrad and Sal Hernandez, who are very important people to me if they can stand up wherever they are. Thank you, Christy. Handles our media. And I also have some other family members here, the Morrissey family and the Ovington family. The Morrisseys live here in Denver and are very supportive. So the 4 of you, please stand up. Okay, just 2 more. We have a relatively new general manager here in Greater Colorado, Kevin Hill, right here. And I'd like all my Enterprise teammates and any spouses that are here to please stand up. You all make me look good. I am just overhead. So please stand up. Thank you very much, audience, for putting up with me on that. I found something very clear. You don't get anything done in life unless you have a great team and a great family, in my opinion. So, we'll take a few questions here. And by the way, the people I just introduced, if it's a really ugly question, then they get to answer.
I'm an international student at Daniels, and I'm from China. And I did a summer internship in Ernst & Young to do the merger acquisition for a Chinese rental car company. So there's three major Chinese companies in China, and the foreign car rental company is obviously not in a really good position right now. So what's your opinion of investment in China for your company, and what do you think the biggest risk associated with it? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We are looking at China very carefully, trying to figure out just what kind of business model we would have over there. As I think many of you know here in the audience, China is now selling more cars than the United States is. The fleet is growing rapidly, and a lot of those cars are sold, and there's no used car trade-in, obviously. Now, as this develops here, we want to understand how we can be a part of that, because I think we have some skills, particularly with the insurance replacement industry, where we have a large percentage of virtually, I think 49 out of the top 50 major insurance companies here in the United States do the principal amount of business with us on their claimants and insureds. So we're trying to sort that out. There are a couple of players there. They're all very small. One is about to go public, and we're talking to a couple of others. The other question is, can you own the company outright? Probably not. You need a business partner? Probably. Do you license it? I'm not sure. So we are in the early stages of trying to figure out what to do. The Enterprise brand in particular is a very good brand. But it's not global, but we have the resources to take it beyond North America. We also are the largest car rental company in Canada. We're the largest in the United Kingdom, and we have a big operation in Germany and Ireland. So, but I think we're thinking global. The world is shrinking. More and more corporations are looking for a global solution when it comes to car rental, for instance, and we're just not there yet. So we're looking carefully. We're investing a lot of people, and frankly, it's, in my stage of this stage of my career, it is really exciting and interesting. Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on here. We got a microphone coming your direction here. Can't you hear me? I can hear you, but I don't think everybody else can. Yeah. Here it comes.
Could you describe how your competitors were sleeping? The thing I heard about you is you'd come when your car was being repaired. Were they not there? Or what else were they not doing?
Well, there was basically a duopoly at the airport. And they were very focused on the car rental business and transactions at the airport. We came along in the home city with all these little offices, and they just did not recognize that there was this other activity in the home city. I remember the duopoly got extremely upset when a guy named Mike Egan founded Alamo Car Rental in the early 70s. And they just went absolutely nuts because that activity was at the airport. They just didn't see us, and before, we just all of a sudden appeared. And frankly, that was a real advantage for us. And I think you'd have to ask the former executives of those companies as to why they didn't see us coming. But it was quoted in Fortune magazine by the one executive. We just did not see them coming. And by that time, we had the financial resources where we can then start entertaining going on the airport. And here we are, probably their worst nightmare. Yes, back there. It's second from the back. Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Hi. Why did you decide to go to the University of Denver?
Now, first of all, I'm going to set some rules here. The rules are, you may not ask a question about my academic performance, although I did get out in 4 years, and you may not ask about anything that might be slightly scandalous as to what I did in those 4 years. I will take the fifth. Long story short, I think a lot of students came here for that reason. Spring vacations, I did not, when I was in high school and college, I did not work during those times. I worked all the Christmas and summer vacations. But my school sponsored a trip to Aspen, Colorado, when I was a junior and then a senior. Went up to Aspen, learned how to ski with lace boots. Loved the mountains, loved the weather, and long story short, it came down to Vanderbilt or here. I was not a great student. I didn't apply myself very much. And as I got older, I knew what I was going to do. And frankly, I knew Denver, I could get 4 years of business. I did not have to necessarily do some of the other classes and so forth in the other schools. And in fact, when I arrived as a freshman, I had 8 o'clock classes downtown where the business school was at that time. So I would get up at 6:30 in the morning as a freshman. That was tough duty. And then this business school moved out here, I think, in the middle of my sophomore year. But it really was the fact I could come out here and really look at business. And by the way, this is also a great place to be in terms of the weather, the mountains, and all that. It was exciting.
I think we have a question up there.
Way up there? Okay, perfect.
Great, thanks.
Hi, can you hear me? I had a question about car seats. Every time I've rented a car anywhere I've gone, the car seats are usually about a decade old. And I just wondered like what the cost-benefit analysis of that was, and also too, have you ever thought about that as a marketing edge? For having the seats that, you know, the cars are usually pretty new, the car seats that just buckle right in,
Yeah.
versus the old kind of the strap in and everything.
Yeah, I was at our LAX operations last Wednesday and Thursday, and I saw a lot of car seats. I was this morning at our DIA operations. I saw a lot of ski racks that are not being used right now, of course. But I'm going to ask my general manager here to give you a little background on that, because I really don't have an answer, and I'd love to hear about it.
Andy warned me earlier today that I'd get all the good questions, so thank you. Can you hear me okay? We typically will rotate out the car seats as needed, so I would like to say that the car seats that we're currently renting at DIA Airport, those are turned over as needed basis, and they're all, I would say less than 6 months old. So, we do what we can in terms of making sure that there's obviously safety checks in place. Every time a customer returns a vehicle, the car seat goes through an inspection process, and if it doesn't meet the inspection, we pull that and we'll replace it with a new one. It should be noted too, we don't currently have the infrastructure in the home city to really handle car seats to the best of our ability. So there's not many home city locations today that are offering car seats, but you'll find them mainly at our airport locations.
People have their own seats in the home city, but one thing about our SQI measurements, in that third category, what needs to be changed, or what suggestions might you have? For the completely dissatisfied or dissatisfied customers, it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing. The good news is there isn't one single thing that we can do to completely satisfy more customers. It's a whole variety of things that are really, very hard to sort of find a solution for in a big way. But the car seat, that's an interesting question, and we can talk about that. I, frankly, I haven't thought about that issue in quite some time. But thank you for the question. I'm thinking about it now because I got a granddaughter. And Mrs. Taylor has a car seat at our house now for sure. Right there.
Hi. So you mentioned Zipcar and WeCar, and this kind of goes along with your sleeping competitors question that was earlier. The fact that Zipcar didn't make any money in the 9 years that they existed, their IPO offering was actually pretty successful. So my question is, you said you're going to be watching them. What will you do if they end up being a significant competitor or just successful in general?
Sometimes, you get out front, and it's called the bleeding edge. When you're on, and they may be on the bleeding edge. They may bleed to death. I don't know. It's so small right now, and we're watching it so closely, and we're developing our own B2B WeCar, that I don't feel that we're letting the cat out of the bag and not paying enough attention to it. I think if they're going to have the proverbial hockey stick where they're going to, they sold it. I don't know if you've read the offering prospectus or all that. I mean, it's I would consider a very optimistic view of things. Good for them if they can. So we're not going to exactly be head-to-head with them, but we'll overlap, a fair amount. But I think our model will be a money-making model, and I think, the real challenge is signing up enough customers per car and then having them use it. And it'll be interesting if they can get to that sort of critical mass, if you will. So, but I would tell you to pay attention to it. I guess it's really pretty fascinating.
Another one up.
Another up top here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm involved with my family business. We are small but growing and successful. As we move along, we're beginning to think about succession planning. And so I was wondering what advice you'd have as we engage in that process.
Well, first of all, good luck. I love family businesses, and I hope you do damn well. Our family has, and I spend I'd say a fair amount of time, and as our business has gotten bigger and our third generation has gotten older, we have to spend more time thinking about the succession process. And I'll just give you two thoughts. First of all, about 12 years ago, it really kind of dawned on me that I needed to really work on this. And I needed to start doing things like just family meetings and find out where everybody is coming from. And we concluded at that point that we would do something that's very interesting. We bifurcated the economics of the family business from the governance of the family business. So we all agreed that I'm going to vote the shares for the family, and then my sister succeeds me. We have a process for the third generation, particularly led by the two that are working in the business. We figure out a way for them to vote the shares, which elects the board, which elects the executives and all that stuff. And so I think we've got the governance thing pretty well in place in that regard. And we have concluded as a family, and not all families do this, that everybody's going to be treated equally economically. Now, for the women that are working for the business, they're going to be well paid. And that's going to be where they're going to get their financial kick, if you will. But it takes a lot of work. I spend last decade a lot of time talking to other family business owners because I want to know what's around the corner. People like Fitz Johnson of S.C. Johnson, who's a really smart, good guy. I think he's fifth generation. And, okay, Fitz, how did you get there? And I think they're still private. And I would urge you to reach out to people that are, let's say, a generation ahead of you or half a generation ahead of you. But good luck. Yes?
Hi, Mr. Taylor. It's Betsy Goodman from St. Louis. I went to high school with Chrissy. It's nice to see you. I am curious about your internet strategy and web marketing. How do you see the internet playing into your business?
Big. Thank you for the question. No. As an example, we have 3 brands, and we keep them in what we call the swim lanes. So you have the national brand, which competes with the red guys and the yellow guys, and you have the enterprise brand, who competes with Dollar Thrifty and Budget and Variety others, and then you have the Alamo brand, which is a very interesting brand. It is an internet brand, and so we are treating it as our internet brand. We're going to have to, have a great website. We're not there yet. We're going to have to source that business through others, such as Travelocity. It's going to be sort of like the Deal brand, because our Alamo customers, compared to our other two customers, two brand customers, are probably a little less loyal. They love to shop the internet. They are always looking for the best deal. A lot of them are upscale women. They don't mind standing in line a little longer because they won the deal. And it's a very interesting focus we have for the Alamo brand, and we're going to be investing big time starting this year on our internet strategy. Now, you also get into the other issues of social media, and I don't know if you want to talk a little about social media, but that is also an emerging big deal. For instance, one way you can play offense and defense in social media. You want to know what your customers are thinking. If there are problems, you want to deal with them through their medium. They like that. And you also can put things out to offers and things that enhance your reputation. So I'm probably going to take an over 60-year-old pass on knowing every detail of that. But we have someone here, our officer of media, Chrissy Conrad. You can come up here and visit with her a little bit if you'd like to know a little more. Okay, thanks for the question. Right up here, I'm sorry.
Earlier in your presentation, you alluded to the fact that your supply has outstripped or your demand has outstripped the supply for vehicles. Are there manufacturers that you don't purchase cars from, and if so, why?
I'm sorry, I missed the end, but right now you said the The supply of business is outstripping our availability of vehicles.
Correct. In terms of purchasing, did I get that correct? Are you?
Yes.
Yes. So what makes that determination on who you select to manufacture vehicles from?
Got it. Great, thank you. Because we buy so many vehicles, we have to buy basically from everybody. It's almost a disadvantage. And through the recent recession, a time has occurred like I've never seen. And the first thing is General Motors and Chrysler went into bankruptcy and didn't produce cars for a while. And also earlier in the year, consumers didn't have credit, so a lot of cars were not bought. And what has happened with those companies as they've come out of bankruptcy is they are, first of all, they were designed by the Treasury Department to break even at 10 million sales, in the United States, for instance. And so right now, sales are running about 13 million. They're making a lot of money. I think you saw the announcement from General Motors late last week or early this week, or yeah, it had to be last week, but where am I? And they're very happy right now. They're very happy making money. They don't want to go back to their old ways of making cars they didn't know where they were going to sell. So the idea of opening a new factory right now is just not appealing to them. They're really liking the situation that they're in right now. That's not good for us in one regard. We cannot get enough vehicles. So we were going to be okay this year. We were expecting about 215,000 vehicles from today till the end of our fiscal year, July 31. 30,000 of those are at risk because of the Japanese problem, just to give you an idea. And we were on the thin edge there. I'm worried about 2012 because we have an agreement with Toyota for the next year. I'm not sure they're going to be able to handle it all. This summer, when you want to rent a car, book early. Okay? That's my little hint. And it's probably going to cost somewhat more. We're paying a lot more for cars because GM and Ford and Chrysler are really disciplined. We are paying more for vehicles. Now, that's caused the used car market to come up, and life is good in that regard, but it's a situation like I've never seen before. So, but as I tell my team, I don't know if things are going up or going down, but they will change. So hang on. Yes?
Okay. Hi, Andy. Mary Mayotte.
Hello, Mary. How are you?
Hello to the whole extended family.
Yeah, well, come up and say hello to us, will you?
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome back to Denver.
Thank
you. DU. I've noticed an exciting shift in the look and feel of your advertising for both enterprise and national. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit, tell folks about the strategy for the change in the advertising.
Great, good. Let's talk after this. Thank you for being here, Mary. You're a busy woman. Well, on the national brand, we bought National and closed in August 1st of 2007. And they had no research done on their brand. They knew very little about their customers and what attracted them. So, but we had to get the name out. And so you might recall we did the commercials that had Joe Buck and John McEnroe in the Choose Any Car. We didn't have any idea if that would have an effect, good effect or bad effect or whatever. We found out later as we tested that. Pretty good. We now are much more knowledgeable about that brand. And you've seen our commercials where it's basically the rent-a-car professional, where they want to be recognized, they want to bypass the counter, they want an upgrade, and those commercials are tracking very, very well for us. On the enterprise brand, we found that we had topped out with our commercials in terms of unaided awareness, which is the holy grail. You want to have people think rent-a-car, oh, enterprise. And because we had Pick You Up, we had those pickup commercials for a long, long time, so we stepped back and said, what can we really do to go to the next level with our unaided awareness? And it became very apparent that, particularly in this day and age where institutions, government, are frankly not really well thought of these days, our customers of the enterprise brand really love our people. So we have created a series of commercials. I think there are 3 out now, Christy, maybe 4 out. We've got a couple of more coming. Those are our employees that are in those commercials. And they love doing that. Generally, they're branch managers or area managers. We had a casting call in Southern California They are so fired up about being there, their families. One young lady who came up to me and said, you know, I love being in the commercial. Now my parents know what I do. And so far they're tracking very well. And it's created an internal buzz like you just cannot believe. And again, that little trailer we had first thing, our people really love to have fun. They love to be part of a team. And those commercials seem to be working very well. Yeah, thanks. How are we doing on time? We'll do one or two more, okay? Is that fair? Yes, sir.
I was wondering what you would describe as your hardest business decision, and what were the thought processes that you used to complete it?
Hardest business decision, and what's the other one?
Your thought processes on how you completed it.
Oh, gosh. I think people in our company would say, gosh, the decision to buy Alamo National was the toughest business decision because we had not made a large purchase ever before. We made a couple small ones. But the fact of the matter, that was not, because the price was such that it was not a financial risk. It was a culture risk. And I can't say enough great things about my team everywhere in the country, to have this team here from Colorado have to take on the people and the brands and all that here in Colorado and make those things very complementary and save the costs, make all the synergies work. I can't remember. I can't tell you what the hardest business decision was. I've made a lot of decisions. Generally, I try to make it as a team, and I don't try to look back. And it's a privilege for me to be in the position we are. I know we have made mistakes. I know darn well. And I can tell you, out of the 130,000 rentals that we have today, there's going to be a small number of them where we are really stupid, and we have done something really bad. And we're going to have to try and fix that. But tomorrow morning when I wake up, I can't be worrying, and carry that with me. So I really can't think of a really, really tough decision. I don't know, Christy, has anybody asked you that in the media before or something?
You've always said that opening that Mexican business.
Oh, way back when. We didn't say no. We were in the Mexican food business. Not my doing, but I had to fix it. And that was the best $500,000 we lost ever because it taught us how to really say no. So, but thank you for the question. I'm sorry not to give you a great answer to that. All right, this is going to be the last question, sir.
Last week I was in Chicago, and I rented from Enterprise. And I did it primarily because of the price. After researching several companies, I chose Enterprise because you offered the best price for the number of days I wanted to rent. But it was the little things that will bring me back. The service was very good, and I was a completely satisfied customer. And I want you to comment about price versus the little things, because price brought me to Enterprise. It's the other things that will bring me back. And I'd just like to hear your comments on that.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for the business. We very much appreciate it. Enterprise, we have a lower cost structure than our competitors, so we can offer prices that are lower for the most part. I think we call it position one, meaning the least expensive. On the internet, for instance, we want to be there, 80% of the time? Something like that. So, but your point is very well taken. It's about the sizzle. It's about the extra stuff. And for instance, anybody can get some bricks and mortar, they can get some cars, they can get some technology. It's all about the people. And we're about the people. And it's why I was in LA last week, why Chrissy and Carolyn and I were here this week seeing all of our employees at various offices around here. We just want to thank them for what they do. And we want to also do, I'll put one plug in here. We want to do things that our customers appreciate. There's been some notoriety, particularly as gas prices have gotten high. The refueling charges, you're in a hurry, you're bringing your car back to O'Hare or Midway, and you didn't refill the tank. Our competitors are now somewhere between $8.99 and $9.99. And our refueling policy has been that we will charge self-service pump plus 35 to 45%. Okay? Well, when gas prices started really going up, we said, that's not right. So what we do is we cap it at $2. So if gas is like in California, as I was last week, where it was, all of the stations were like at $5.50, $5.25, we would charge the customer $7.25. And we just think that's a more fair way to do it. We got to buy the gas, we got to inventory it. We have to have the pumps and the environmental and the labor to do it. We just think that's a pretty fair way. And you're not going to walk away feeling that we really took advantage of you. And we really try not to do that. And we think that'll bring you back. Thank you all for the questions. Very, very much enjoyed it. Thank you for your business. And thanks for the opportunity to be here.
So isn't he great?
I'm just one little old pioneer.
So I have to tell you, Andy, I was holding my breath, and I'm sure Chancellor Coombe was holding his breath when they asked you why you went to the University of Denver. Chancellor, did he pass? Did he pass? Okay.
I'm sorry, you cannot take my degree back. That cannot happen. You know, the statute of limitation has expired.
So one of my colleagues is from St. Louis, and he said, I have to come to the event tonight because Andy Taylor is my hometown hero. And I can honestly say on behalf of the University of Denver and the Daniels College of Business, you're one of our heroes and one of our finest Daniels pioneers. Let's give him another round of thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one last request. As I was standing backstage in the flash mob
yes, we could make that reservation for you in New York tomorrow. No.
I'll take a deluxe model.
Okay.
As we were standing backstage and the Enterprise flash mob was on, I asked Andy, I said, why aren't you up there dancing with the rest of your crew? And he says, Chris, I just don't dance. So maybe with a little bit of audience participation. No, I'm being nice. We can close out our season not with the Enterprise flash mob dance, but maybe with the Enterprise flex. Can you do that for us?
Oh, absolutely.
Please join us out in the lobby for a reception, and we will see you here next year for our Voices of Experience speaker series. Thank you very much.
Thank you.